Hi, I'm Jeffrey Smith from the Institute for Responsible Technology, and it's time to march on Monsanto. This is Non-GMO Month 2012. The last march against Monsanto was in May. Over 2 million people from 52 countries marched against Monsanto. Why is the world marching against a single company? First of all, it's not just any company. This company was voted most evil company of the world year after year with stiff competition. I think that these executives at Monsanto ask themselves in their quieter moments, what would Darth Vader do? Monsanto's plans, as revealed in a 1999 biotech conference in San Francisco by its consultant Arthur Anderson, they were also Enron's consultant, was this. They had asked the Monsanto executives earlier, what's your ideal future in 15 to 20 years? And the executives described a world in which 100% of all commercial seeds were genetically engineered and patented. And Anderson worked backwards from that goal to create the strategy and tactics to achieve it. This is a company that plans to replace the products of the billions of years of evolution with their designer genes and designer organisms designed for greater profit and control. Now, are they so confident in their technology that they know it's not going to affect all of us who eat? And moreover, they know once the genes are put there in the environment, it becomes a self-propagating pollution of the gene pool. There's no technology today to clean up the contamination of Monsanto's corn varieties that are genetically engineered into the indigenous corn varieties in Mexico, the source of genetic diversity on the planet for corn. There's no way we can go clean it up. So they're planning to not only have a technology that can influence everyone who eats, but also the environment, all living beings, and all future generations. Are they so confident in their technology that they could do this for everyone's protection, for everyone's advancement, to feed the world? First of all, if we look at their history, they have a history of producing some of the most toxic chemicals on the planet and consistently covering up the toxicity. There's evidence from court cases that they hid the influence that PCBs from their factory in Anniston, Alabama was basically killing the people in the area. They, according to Kate Jenkins of the EPA, used fraud to hide the fact that their Agent Orange was causing harm, which essentially denied the veterans of the Vietnam War compensation for getting sick from being sprayed with Agent Orange. So they have a history of lying about the toxicity of their products. In fact, their former attorney, Michael Taylor, was in charge of the FDA policy in 1992 when the policy came out. And he was hearing from all the FDA scientists that GMOs were dangerous, that they could create allergies, toxins, new diseases, and nutritional problems. What did he do? He lied. The policy said the agency's not aware of any information showing that GMOs are significantly different. Therefore, no testing was necessary, no labeling was necessary. Monsanto could decide on their own if their GMOs were safe and put it onto our plates without telling the FDA or consumers. So, they knew that the scientists at the FDA were complaining. What about their own scientists? Well, I talked to one of their own scientists, no longer working at Monsanto, and he told me that they found that rats who were fed their corn were damaged. But instead of withdrawing the corn, they rewrote the study to hide the effects. I wasn't surprised because we'd studied Monsanto's science, and we showed how they had rigged their research to avoid finding problems. So they knew, and they know that the technology is dangerous, and yet they keep trying to hide that fact. And they have the audacity to want to use it to replace everything on Earth, all of the different seeds. And they want to introduce Terminator technology, which is a way to grow sterile seeds, so the 1.4 billion farmers on the planet won't have the opportunity to save the seeds year after year and create that rich biodiversity which is needed now at a time of global climate change. Monsanto wants to eliminate that diversity, forcing the farmers to just buy from their catalog, the limited genetics. So they're willing to risk food security for greater profits. This is the company we're marching against. Now, we don't have to just march against Monsanto on one day of the year. In fact, there's already millions of people in the United States who march against Monsanto every time they shop. Now, they don't have to remind themselves of all of the trespasses that Monsanto has done on this in past generations. They just have to look at what they want to eat in order to protect their own health and the health of their family. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine evaluated the animal feeding studies on GMOs and found gastrointestinal problems, reproductive problems, immune system disorders, organ damage, dysfunctional regulation of cholesterol and insulin, accelerated aging, etc. They said all doctors should prescribe non-GMO diets. Thousands of doctors are doing just that. And we're hearing from them and from their patients and others, when they remove GMOs, they get better from the same categories of diseases and disorders that were afflicting the lab animals. From the same categories that we hear livestock gets better from when they remove GM soy and corn from their feed. The same problems that are on the rise in the US population since GMOs were introduced, and the same problems we would predict that would be caused by the two main toxins in GMOs, Monsanto's Roundup herbicide sprayed on their Roundup-ready crops, and Monsanto's pesticide, the Bt toxin, produced from inside their Bt corn and cotton. So we now have sufficient evidence to convince people to avoid eating GMOs for their own sake. So watch Genetic Roulette, the gamble of our lives, at geneticroulettemovie.com. Or join us at the new GMO Mini Summit. Go to gmosummit.com. gmosummit.com from October 25th to 27th. We'll have 10 interviews with people like Vandana Shiva and Andy Kimbrell and Michael Hansen and Robin O'Brien, etc. People you want to hear from. And then we're going to have a second wave of expert interviews given every week thereafter for 5 weeks. So please go to gmosummit.com and sign up for this free online summit to learn more about why you should march against Monsanto every time you shop, every time you eat, to protect yourself. And not only do you protect yourself, but by collectively avoiding products that contain GMOs, we turn the use of GMOs into a marketing liability. That's right, the companies realize no one is choosing their products because they contain GMOs, but if the GMOs reduce their sales, they'll get rid of them, like they already did in Europe for that reason. In Europe, who kicked GMOs out? Not the government. Nestle's, Unilever, McDonald's, the same companies that continue to sell GMOs in the United States. We will see a tipping point. In fact, I can say with confidence we have already seen a tipping point in the natural food sector in the United States, with more than 10,000 products verified by the Non-GMO Project as non-GMO. In fact, when Whole Foods president announced that when a product becomes Non-GMO Project verified in its store, it increases sales by 15 to 30%. Who do you think was listening to that? Everyone, certainly in the natural food industry. And we're about to see, in my opinion, a tipping point come soon in the conventional food industry. We have a window coming up, which I think is the most important window for anti-GMO activism in the history of the United States, and certainly in the 17 years that I've been involved in this. And that's when we see products in the conventional food aisles, in Safeway and in Walmart, when they become non-GMO Project verified, we will see an increase in sales, but for those companies, a reduction in market share for the competition, then everyone in the food industry will realize, I don't want to be the second person in my product category to be declaring non-GMO. We don't want to lose market share. So we're in a very important time to drive GMOs out of our food supply. How? By marching against Monsanto down the aisles. But right now, let's join together and march against Monsanto during Non-GMO Month, spread the word so that others also learn about the dangers, and together we can reclaim a non-GMO food supply. To make this a reality, the Institute for Responsible Technology is doing a massive education campaign to go to people who are responsive to our message, who shop in Walmart and Safeway, who can drive the sales up for the non-GMO product, and then demonstrate to the entire food industry that continued use of GMOs is a liability. We can tip this, and you can help. Please go to responsibletechnology.org and make a donation, ideally a recurring donation month after month, so that we can do this education and drive GMOs out of the market, and together we can reclaim a non-GMO food supply. Safe eating.